Registered representatives offer securities through Securities America, Inc., member FINRA SIPC. Financial advisors offer advisory services through Securities America Advisors, Inc. Forest Hills Financial, Inc. and Securities America are separate entities. This is the Keeping Your Money Show with Jamie Westenbarger and Bart Steindler.
Good morning. Welcome to Keep Your Money Show. Jamie Westenbarger, joined as always by my esteemed colleague, Mr. Bart Steindler, on this last weekend of April. Kind of seems crazy to say that, but the weather's finally starting to cooperate a little bit. So.
I know. You can go outside without a bunch of, boots and shoes and overcoats and hats and gloves. Leave all that stuff. Put it away.
Yep, absolutely.
No more. It's $1 million morning in Grand Rapids.
Indeed it is. This is Keeping Your Money Show, where we cut through all the bulls, the booyahs, the bells, whistles, honks, and horns to get you to the information that actually helps you move towards retirement. You can always join the conversation by sending us an email, info@keepingyourmoney.com. You can also call us, 888-98-MONEY is the number, 888-986-6639. You can tweet us. Just go to Twitter, look for Keeping Money, or Facebook. You can find us at Keeping Your Money. Like and follow both of those pages to find out what we're talking about every week. If you miss any part of the show, you can always find it on our website at keepingyourmoney.com or any of our podcast partners like iTunes, Google Play Music, YouTube, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and now Spotify. Just search for the Keeping Your Money Show. Got a great show on deck today, Bart. We're going to talk about Social Security won't be able to pay full benefits. One of the best things I want to talk about this is how everyone last week got on the bandwagon of throwing this out as a headline like it was new news.
Right.
Like it was breaking news that Social Security is going to go broke. Workers with financial advisors are ahead of their peers in retirement savings, according to this study. Should you be putting more in your 401k than you need to get the employer match? And the 3 most dangerous retirement planning myths and what you should do to avoid them. All that and more right here on the Keeping Your Money Show. So, we're in a world now where everything is breaking news. Everything is breaking news. They literally will be talking about something they've been talking about for 2 weeks, and on the bottom, it's in giant letters, breaking news, the information we've been telling you for the last 10 days, and it's like it puts everybody in this hyper sense of like, oh my gosh, did you hear, and some of our local news channels even got caught up in this week with their Facebook sharing of national reports about Social Security, and that they will not be able to pay full benefits by 2035. Now, what's interesting is last year they said 2034, so it actually has increased a year. But this is not new information. We've known for a long time that Social Security is, running a tab it can't pay. And we just keep getting closer and closer. I remember when we first started talking about this, early in my career, in the early 2000s, thinking, wow, that's decades away. They'll be able to fix this.
Right.
We are now approaching where it's barely a decade away. and we still are no closer. As a matter of fact, instead of actually solving it, we're hearing about presidential candidates who want to use Social Security for other things, like, maternity leave and paternity leave and all of these other things. Like, what, it can't even pay for what it's supposed to pay for.
So our government is running a deficit. And they have taken money, in the past when there were surpluses in Social Security, they have taken money out of there and replaced it with IOUs, which they have not paid back, but they do pay interest on them. And they're talking about a plethora of other programs that are going to cost a ton of money. Okay? Before we start adding on other programs, let's get the government to fix this one. Okay? It's not a crisis yet, and it's probably not even a crisis long term. They can make some adjustments to make it happen, but the thing is, the adjustments are going to cost us more money. So instead of just kicking this ball down the road year after year after year after year, let's actually quit demagoguing this topic, and let's get behind the politicians who actually, if you can find one, that actually wants to sit down and figure out how to solve this. And there's a couple of things we need to solve. One, we need to solve if Social Security is the right program for the future.
Right.
As opposed to letting people have a private retirement account.
Right.
And the other one is how we're going to finance and assure that we pay the people who have been putting in this for years without having to tell them in 2035 that they have to take a 20 or 30% haircut on their.
Well, and I think that's the problem. It's not that this is going to completely run out of money, but there's not going to be enough revenue. So the surplus is gone, and then the revenue is not at a level that sustains the spending. So we end up coming into a situation where we're going to be bringing in about 70 to 75% of what's necessary to pay out what's been promised. And you're exactly right. To just keep running full force towards that day without any kind of discussion on what's going to happen for the people that are planning on that is really kind of reckless. If you have somebody that's presently in their late 50s and they've been told they're going to get $1,800 a month in Social Security when they retire, and then when they retire, they're kicked in the teeth and told, I'm sorry, you're actually only going to get $1,200. Well, that's a significant difference in the willpower of the politicians to do anything. What really scares me about it is we keep hearing about new ways and new plans, but none of them actually involve some basic, simple principles of how to fix Social Security. First of all, like it or not, you may make more income than what the max for Social Security contributions are. So as of right now, after 100,000 or something, you don't pay into Social Security anymore. That cap needs to just be lifted. I mean, it just does. And I'm speaking as someone who,
you're going to get hit by that.
I benefit from having that capped,
right.
But the reality is, for this to be a system that continues to exist, we can't cap contributions to it. That's the first one. The other thing is we probably have to start looking at actually capping payouts. Whether there's some type of means test that goes in or some types of, system that decides how much Social Security you receive. I understand all the arguments. Yes, we have paid into it. Yes, it is my money. But the reality is, when we go through and look at how many people have planned for retirement, many people rely almost exclusively on Social Security. And if we don't make sure that their Social Security is secure, we're going to still pay for their retirement. We're just going to pay for it in a different way. So we're not like, when people are like, well, I'm not doing that. Well, we're doing it one way or another. That person is going to rely on us as taxpayers to take care of them one way or another.
Right. It's kind of like how we're bailing out everybody now that has student loans, or we're proposing bailing out everyone who has student loans right now. And I am not in favor of that, but I would maybe feel differently if we had the money. But we don't have the money, and I think you have to prioritize your commitments to the money that you do have.
Well, exactly. And I think if you were to look at these two, there's a lot of steam now that's kind of being gathered for taking care of these student loans, And quite frankly, I mean, just to call it what it is, you signed up for those student loans. And I'm sorry that you can't afford to pay those back, but you made a commitment to pay those loans back. Now, we can have all kinds of conversations about how fair it is and how expensive college education is, and we're 100% behind that. We talk about that all the time, how absurd college education has become. But at some point in time, you said, yes, I will pay that money back. The people that are going to get their Social Security cut have never made a decision to have their Social Security cut. They have been promised for decades that they're going to receive this check, many of them very much counting on receiving that check. And to do anything but give them that full check is quite frankly just ridiculous. I mean,
it's fraudulent.
It's completely fraudulent. I mean, it's a government version of a Ponzi scheme. You've been putting this money in for years and years and years. We promise you a payout at the end, and oh, I'm sorry, we didn't get enough people signed up, so we can't get it to you.
Yeah, and if it was a private company doing that as opposed to the government, they'd be doing the perk walk.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And what's crazy is the fixes we keep hearing about are just as absurd as the problem in the first place. An economist the other day recommended that Americans blend their 401k with Social Security, that in effect the government would take over your 401k account, and that influx of cash would not only guarantee you a payout when you retire, but it would solidify Social Security. Well, I'm sorry, Social Security was already supposed to be a guarantee of payment when I retire. I don't think I'm going to give you my 401k as well. Nancy Pelosi a number of years ago made the comment that if they just did a one-time tax on all retirement accounts right now, that money could be infused into Social Security to fix the problem. Well, it never fixes the problem. It temporarily abates the issue, but they'll still find a new way to spend the money. I mean, it's like when we talk about like where there's this roads tax or all these other taxes that come along. I'll never forget when I was in college, I worked part-time at AT&T, and there was it was Ameritech at the time then. But there's a fee on your phone bill that is called the UCC charge. And it was one of the most widely charged, it's one of the charges people called the most about. Like, what is this, So the common answer in the thing was, well, it's just a government surcharge, right? But I actually researched it because I wanted to know what it was, okay? It is a charge that the government put on phone bills to cover the cost of extending the telegraph lines from the East Coast to the new territory of California. That's what it's for. It's still on our phone bills. I'm pretty sure those lines have been paid for by now. The government doesn't take taxes away. They're not like, oh, it's all good now, we'll give you that money back. That's not how it works. So
do you know anybody in the last 10 years that got a telegraph?
I don't know anybody ever that's gotten a telegraph, unless it was like a joke and the guy was dressed up and, oh, that's a telegram. That's different. Yeah. No, but I mean, that's a perfect example, though. There's another charge. I can't remember if it's on our phone bills or something, but it was help finance the Spanish-American War. I mean, like these things don't go away, folks. So this idea that, well, if we just did this one time, then Social Security will be fixed. No, it won't. It won't. They have to dig down. Some of us aren't going to be happy. That's just all there is to it. Some of us are not going to be happy, but we have to really start reevaluating what is Social Security. And like you said, is it really even the right thing going forward? Maybe it's time to start talking about, putting Social Security bed for good, and in doing so, we take care of the Americans are a certain age or older and make sure they have it. And for everyone else, we start transitioning them to something that offers them more of their own participation in it and not the government's, babysitting of it.
Well, it's not a good return on investment if you figure it that way. When Social Security started out, the amount of payroll tax that you had to pay was 3%. And now you're paying...
It's 14.5 by the time your employer pays and you pay.
Right. So we're significantly higher than that. So if you were putting 7% of your paycheck into a individual retirement account, and it maybe the government could put some parameters on what you can and what you can't invest in or that. But I got to believe that you would end up in much, much better shape than you would with what you're getting on the return for Social Security.
Just think of the basic numbers we run for somebody, okay? Yeah. And if they started putting away 15% of their income at age 18 for the rest of their life, I know for sure their monthly payment would be a lot more than it is with Social Security.
Absolutely.
So it's clearly not a good return on our investment. So I'm sure that there'll be more and more talk about it coming up, and hopefully someday.
And even less done.
And even less actually accomplished. All the more reason to plan for your own retirement, let's face it. All right, coming up, we're going to talk about workers with financial advisors ahead of their peers when it comes to retirement savings right here on the Keeping Your Money Show.